On Wednesday night, Austin Hayes became the fifth Oriole to hit for the cycle. And that was pretty awesome. But you know what else is pretty awesome? Former Orioles knuckleballer Mickey Jannis is joining the show as well. That's all coming up on this episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
You are Locked On Orioles, your daily Baltimore Orioles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Orioles fans. Today is Thursday, June 23rd, 2022, and welcome back in to the Locked On Orioles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, I'm your host, Connor Newcomb, and coming up on today's episode, well, we're going to start with recapping most of an Orioles win on Wednesday night. I am recording here just after 10:30. The game is in its second rain delay. I'm not sitting through a third one. It looks like they'll probably call the game with the Orioles leading 7-0 after 6 innings. So I'll get you the 5 things you need to know from the first 6 innings of this Oriole victory. And then a special guest is coming on the show today as Mickey Jannis, who made his major league debut with the Orioles 1 year ago today, is joining the podcast. Of course, a knuckleballer who grinded through independent ball and the minor leagues for so many years, and the O's gave him his chance at age 33. He talks about what it was like in the O's system, why he signed with Baltimore in the first place, his emotions making that major league debut, why he started throwing the knuckleball, and many more things in a great conversation with Mickey Jannis. And we will get to all of that here on the podcast in just a second. But first, just wanted to thank you for making Locked On Orioles your first podcast listen of the day. Locked On Orioles is free and available on all podcast listening platforms. And remember, we're the only O's podcast out there bringing you content Monday through Friday, every day of the week. Listen to us on Apple Pods, on Spotify, watch us here on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe everywhere, leave a 5-star rating and a review, like and comment on the YouTube page. Again, we just thank you, the listeners, so much for making Locked On Orioles your first podcast listen of the day. And for your first listen today, let's start with what I assume, as you're listening to this, will have been a full Orioles victory. Now, as I talk here, it is 10:39 p.m. Eastern time. The O's have not officially called the game yet, but about 15 minutes ago, they went into their second rain delay of the game. They are through 6 full innings, and the Orioles lead the Nationals 7-0. I thought when they were through 5 innings with a 3-0 lead, when they went into the first rain delay, they would call the game then. They came back out. They played the bottom of the 5th and the entire 6th. Orioles added 4 more runs, and then the rain came again in Baltimore. I'm thinking this will be it. If they play more of the game, I won't have watched it for this episode, but I think we can assume the O's will get 9 more outs and hold a 7-run lead if they do come back and play. But I'll get you the 5 things you need to know from at least the O's leading 7-0 through 6 innings, and let's just assume a 7-0 Oriole win. And of course, the first thing you need to know is that Austin Hayes hit for the cycle in only 6 innings on Wednesday night. Hayes becomes the 5th Oriole to hit for the cycle in franchise history. Brooks Robinson, July 15th of 1960. Cal Ripken Jr., May 6th of 1984. Felix P.A., August 14th of 2009. And most recently, Jonathan Villar on August the 5th of 2019. Austin Hayes on June 22nd, 2022 joins the ranks. And this one pretty impressive because he did it in just 4 at-bats. He did it in only 6 innings. And it looks like a game that's, going to be official with just 6 innings of play. And Hayes still hits for the cycle. Of course, single, double, triple, and a home run. Well, how did he do it in terms of the order? Well, he finished things off with the double and actually started it with an infield single off of Nats starter Patrick Corbin in the bottom of the first inning for Hayes. It was just a grounder up the middle that he beat out the throw from Cesar Hernandez. Then in the third inning came the home run off of Patrick Corbin, his 10th homer of the year, 103 off the bat, 405 feet on the Hayes home run to left field to add to the Orioles' lead at that point. And then for Hayes came the triple. Knocks one off the big wall in right field in the 4th inning, 97 miles per hour off the bat. And then in the 6th, a 2-run double to extend the Oriole lead to 5-0, 102 off the bat as he hit one into the left center field gap to pick up his cycle. What a cool moment for Austin Hayes. The great season he's been having, and what just a difference one day makes. I mean, the Orioles offense is dead on Tuesday night. Hayes goes 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, the golden sombrero. The O's come back, score 7 runs in 6 innings, and Hayes hits for the cycle in just 4 at-bats the very next night. You just can't predict baseball. What a game it is, and what a night for Austin Hayes, who continues to add to his resume to try and get to the All-Star game in LA this summer. Second thing you need to know from this one is that Trey Mancini somewhat conquered the left field wall with a home run. Right after Austin Hayes hit the double that got him the cycle, Mancini came up and hit a 2-run home run over the kind of shorter part down the left field line that extended the Oriole lead to 7-0. For Trey, it was his 7th home run of the season, 108 off the bat, traveling 387 feet. And we know Trey has been frustrated all year by the new wall. He's lost multiple home runs to that wall. Trey Mancini actually has the biggest difference in baseball this year between actual home runs and expected home runs. He has now hit 7 home runs on the year, and per StatCast, he has 13 expected home runs. That 6-homer difference is the largest difference of any player in baseball. So the new wall has certainly hurt Mancini this year, but it was nice to see him conquer it mostly. Didn't hit it over the biggest and furthest part, but still hit that 2-run homer in the 6th. But Hayes and Mancini, that wasn't the Orioles' only offense, because the third thing you need to know is that the Orioles just frankly lit up Patrick Corbin on Wednesday night. What a great night to do it. Patrick Corbin on Pride Night, not a good pitcher, not a good guy. Orioles destroyed him. Corbin lasts just 4 innings. Now, he only allowed 3 runs, but it was on 7 hits. He did have 6 Ks and a walk, but he allowed 2 home runs. Both of them were solo shots in the 3rd inning. You had the Austin Hayes solo shot, and then you had Anthony Santander rip one on a 3-0 pitch into the bullpen area, 104 off the bat, traveling 414 feet off of Corbin. Of course, the O's offense kept going with the 4-run 6th, but it was nice to see them get to Corbin, especially in the 1st inning, because the Orioles no runs on 4 hits. Their offense was just completely silent on Tuesday night, and they come right out in the 1st inning on Wednesday. Hayes singles, Mancini singles, and then a Ryan Mountcastle RBI double immediately made it 1-0 Orioles in the 1st. And it was nice to see them, after a terrible offensive night, which I talked about on yesterday's episode, jump right back into it on Wednesday, get a run on the board immediately. They forced Corbin to throw 31 pitches in the 1st inning. And yeah, they only got the 1 run. They could have got more, but that obviously piled up on Corbin as the game went on, those 31 pitches, and they got to him more in the 3rd inning as well. Fourth thing you need to know as we turn this over to the Orioles pitching, another scoreless start for the O's best starting pitcher, Tyler Wells. Now, he labored through this one, don't get me wrong, but 5 scoreless innings for Wells. He allows 3 hits. He struck out 4, and he did walk 4, which was his season high. In fact, he hadn't walked more than 2 batters in any start this year, and he walked 4 of them in 5 innings, but he got through a couple of jams, stranded the bases loaded in the 3rd inning, was the biggest jam he got out of, and he had to throw 95 pitches, which is also a career high for Tyler Wells, but he lowers his ERA to 3.34, only 5 hard hit balls on the day for Wells, and didn't have his best stuff, had obviously his worst command of the season, and still went scoreless. And the big change for Wells, he didn't have his best stuff at all. Fastball velo was a little down. Fastball command was erratic. He hasn't had that all year. But the pitch that allowed Wells to step up was that changeup. That was the best I have ever seen Tyler Wells' changeup look. He threw 22 of them. It was his 3rd most used pitch. And on 9 swings on the changeup, he got 5 whiffs. 5 of his 7 whiffs on the night came on that changeup, including 2 of those whiffs were 2 separate strikeouts of Nelson Cruz, including his final pitch of the night in the 5th inning with a runner on and 2 down, got Cruz to swing through a changeup to end the 5th and finish off his scoreless start. Again, not Wells' best, and he still throws 5 scoreless. Just so impressed by Tyler Wells. And the 5th and final thing you need to know is, again, we're kind of recording this here through 6 innings. It's 7-0 Orioles, second rain delay. I think they're going to call the game. Fifth thing you need to know is just I'm not really sure why the Orioles came back and played that 6th inning. It was awesome to get 4 more runs. It was awesome to see Mancini hit a homer. And of course, it was awesome to see Austin Hayes complete the cycle. But the O's were through a full game. Tyler Wells struck out Nelson Cruz to end the top of the 5th. The O's led 3-0. And because the home team was leading, it was an official game because they had completed 5 innings. Even though they completed 4.5, the home team was winning. And then the sky opened up. It starts to pour. There was more rain later in the forecast. Just felt like it was easy to call the game, a win 3-0 for the O's in 5 innings and go home. But they sat around for 45 minutes, came back out there, played an inning and a half, and then the skies opened again. Didn't seem like the best move. Not sure why they did it, but here we are. And again, I'm assuming they call the game with a 7-0 win. We'll see. Either way, it looks like an Orioles victory to get them to 31 and 39 on the season and split the 2-game series with the Nationals. But moving on from this O's win to a guy who appeared for the Orioles last season, and that was Mickey Jannis, who at 33 years old finally got to the big leagues with the Orioles, throwing his knuckleball exactly 1 year ago today, June 23rd of 2021. And to celebrate the 1-year anniversary, Mickey was nice enough to come on the podcast. Mickey Jannis joins us to talk about his debut with the Orioles, his time in their system, why he signed with the O's after being released by the Mets. We talk about the knuckleball and the part it plays in today's game, and just a really cool conversation with former Orioles right-handed pitcher Mickey Jannis. And that is coming up here in just a second. But first, I got to tell you about BlueNile.com, because whether you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Blue Nile has simple online tools to let you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as setting style. And Blue Nile's bench jewelers will then handcraft her perfect engagement ring, and each ring is one of a kind. And if you have questions, you don't know what you should be looking for, you're just having trouble choosing, Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every budget. So make your moments sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Orioles listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement. So use the code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever peace. Go to BlueNile.com today. All right, so we've got a very special guest on the pod today. It is former Orioles right-handed pitcher Mickey Jannis. And Mickey, first of all, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
And so we had to have you on because, actually we are chatting here on Wednesday. People will be watching this on Thursday, which will actually be the 1-year anniversary of your major league debut with the Orioles. How have you, just to start, kind of reflected back on that moment? Because I know, the grind continues for you trying to get back to that point, but what's your reflection been like a year later?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a crazy ride. Life-changing moment for sure. But yeah, it's just, coming up to the day, and actually this morning, a year ago, is the day I got the call from my manager. So, just kind of talking with my wife, the last few days, and just talking about how cool it was, but at the same time, obviously trying to get back there and just seeing where I'm at right now with pitching and what it's going to take to get back up there and get picked back up.
Yeah, I know you're in independent ball once again with the Chicago Dogs. What is kind of the timeline for you? Because you obviously grinded it out in indie ball, for a good amount of your career before getting signed with the Mets. Now, later in your career, you're more established as a knuckleball guy. What does that process look like now as you try and get back to affiliated ball again?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. And, because I have a pretty solid track record, I think it's not necessarily about how I'm pitching in the moment necessarily, but where it's just teams need help, and you can kind of see it all around every league now, whether it's major leagues, minor leagues, independent ball. It's just injuries start to happen, people start moving up and down. releases whatever's happening. It's just kind of waiting for that opportunity for someone to buy in again. And it's not necessarily reaching out to every team, because not every team is a knuckleball team. It's a special pitch, and not everyone's into the unpredictability about it. So it's hard to find a buyer, and I think that's why there's so few of us, and it takes so long to perfect. And you spend a whole lifetime trying to perfect an unperfect pitch. So it's definitely a grind, and just waiting for an opportunity.
What made the Orioles kind of a knuckleball team for you when you signed in 2020? And I know you had to, wait through a canceled minor league season and a shortened major league season to get back with the O's and get to the bigs. But what made that the spot for you after the Mets released you to sign with the Orioles?
Yeah, it was just I was just a minor league free agent and had a couple teams reach out. One of them being the Orioles, and a couple of them offered me like, we like you, and we'll give you an opportunity to earn a spot in spring training, that type of thing. And the Orioles called, and they were like, we got some people that like the knuckleball in our front office, and their first conversation with me was just like learning about like what I do with the knuckleball. um, and so that was kind of like the opening point where I was like, this phone call is different than what everybody else has done with me. So that kind of opened up my eyes a little bit more. And then, so I had that conversation, and basically the last thing he said was like, if we decide to go the knuckleball route, we're going to be all in on you. I was like, all right, like I've never really heard anybody say that before. So like that was pretty positive. So you just kind of sit around and wait and see what happens. And then a couple days later, got a call from my agent, and they're like, hey, they want to sign you. Um, Not going to send you to big league camp, but you're going to be in like the minor league side with extra players, and you're going to be backing up every minor league or every major league spring training game. You're going to get opportunities to pitch. And then I was like, all right, that's the best I've heard. So let's do it. And ended up calling the other teams, and they were like, oh yeah, go take that offer. That's way better than what we were offering you. So like the other teams were in on it too. And they're like, good luck, and so it all worked out.
Yeah, and obviously you spent the couple days in the big leagues. You make your debut, but you were most of the year. I know you spent a little time in Bowie, but mostly in AAA Norfolk. How big was the buy-in? Were there certain coaches or even certain other pitchers who were really bought in on just learning what you were doing, or trying to get you to hey, you are a knuckleballer, and that's how you're going to get to the big leagues?
Yeah, I mean, I know who I am and what my specialty is. So, you know, um, I thought the Orioles did a great job of trying to learn how I pitch with the knuckleball, as opposed to just like, here it is, lob it up there and see what happens. And there is an actual art to like how I'm trying to attack hitters, and you know, so Chris Holt did a great job with me, and Darren Holmes. I had conversation with them in spring training, and then obviously up there in the big leagues. And even through the minor league side, guys were trying to learn my art of what I was actually trying to do. And I think it takes that open mind of like trying something new, as opposed to just like, sometimes you get a coach who's just like, all right, you throw a knuckleball. Like, I don't really know what to do with you. It's just good luck, and sometimes you feel like that. I mean, I know a lot of knuckleball pitchers talk about being on an island, and it is kind of that feeling of like, if you're struggling, like, who do I talk to? If you're pitching well, like, nobody bothers you, like, so you are kind of on an island. But I thought the Orioles did a great job of actually trying to learn my craft, and trying to figure out what I was actually trying to do with the pitch.
Yeah, and we know in the Orioles system, especially since Mike Elias took over in 2019, it's been much more data driven. I've always been interested for a guy that's throwing a pitch that is the exact opposite of trying to get a high spin rate. Does using a TrackMan, using a Rapsodo, using anything like that, does that come into play with you when you're throwing the knuckleball?
Not really. Like, there's really no like way to track it. Like, you could track it, but it really doesn't have an effect of like what you think about with like, a four-seam fastball, here's what it spins like, here's how it's going to move. Like, we know what to expect when you throw this type of fastball. But it's like the knuckleball, you get, I don't know if you've ever seen like the charts of like how it moves, but how pitches move. But it's basically like if you ever were in math class and there's a scatter plot, which is like dots all over the page, and you're trying to find correlations between them. There is no correlation. Like, so it's just, there's no way to track it. And I think that's what makes it so difficult this day and age, is because everybody knows what to expect when you throw a four-seam fastball at this spin rate on this, vertical movement and things like that. Whereas like you threw a knuckleball that was like literally 0-0, but it went like this 8 different times on the way to the plate, and then you threw one that said it moved 18 inches and it got clobbered. It's like there's no correlation. Like they don't know what to do with it. I mean, I don't even know what to do with it. Like, I know the feel of how it comes out, and I'm like, this was a good one, this one was a bad one, and trying to differentiate the two of how it felt for me. But it's not something that you can really like explain to like somebody who doesn't throw the pitch. It's just a difficult thing, and everything is really just by feel.
Do you think that's hurt just the general knuckleballers, just because you're the last one to throw a knuckleball in the big leagues in your debut a year ago? And, obviously, even for guys who are getting signed out of indie ball right now, a lot of it is a team notices some TrackMan data and says, hey, go out and watch this guy a couple times. And then eventually it becomes, a minor league contract. But that's not how you're going to find a knuckleball guy. Do you think it's hurt the amount of knuckleballers in professional baseball, just how much teams are relying on that kind of data?
Yeah, I think so. And I think I mean, you look at my career, and I stuck it out for 12 years before I made my debut. And yeah, you get the occasional conventional pitcher who's stuck around for 12 years before they've made their debut, but it's just a little bit different for them. There's probably more of them who stuck around for 12 years as opposed to like a 12-year minor league knuckleballer who's been sticking it out for 12 years to make his debut. It's just so hard to develop and so hard to, understand what we're trying to do. I mean, there's been guys who reached out to me after my debut, and they're like, hey, I'm, you know, started to convert to a knuckleball. Like, what do I do? And it's really just go out and throw it. And you kind of learn by trial and error. And that's, you get a couple like conversations with ex knuckleballers and stuff. And you're like, okay, now I just got to go out and throw it. Like, this worked for Mickey, but it didn't work for Charlie Huff, or whatever, that type of thing. And just trying to understand what the pitch does and how to keep it in the strike zone.
So we'll get back to chatting with Mickey Jannis, former Orioles right-hander who made his major league debut a year ago, in just a second. But first, got to tell you about Athletic Greens and their product AG1, because people use the product if they want better gut health, more energy, optimized immune system. But you may be wondering, what is this stuff? Well, with one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. And AG1 is lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, or any diet. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar as well, and it fits into your lifestyle. And in terms of price, it only costs you less than $3 a day. So you're investing in your health every single day. And Athletic Greens, it has over 7,000 5-star reviews recommended by pro athletes and trusted by leading health experts as well. And right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop and a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/MLB Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/MLB Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So we're here with Mickey Jannis, who made his major league debut with the Orioles 1 year ago today, as you listen to this, with the Birds against the Houston Astros. And, Mickey, I know you've been asked about this a million times, but just the emotions of, being called up to Camden Yards, pitching in that game, not just in any major league game, you were facing one of the best lineups in baseball as well in the Houston Astros. I mean, and I've heard you talk about this on other podcasts and other interviews, but just kind of how did you ground yourself? Because you're not a 24-year-old top prospect who's making his major league debut and, has known this moment was coming since, getting drafted a couple years ago. You're 33, you've grinded through indie ball and the minor leagues, and just how did you kind of ground yourself on the mound?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to just embrace it, but I mean, obviously your heart's racing, hear your name call in the bullpen and just trying to embrace everything, take it all in, but at the same time, then you get on the mound and you're like, oh shoot, I gotta face Jordan Alvarez as my first batter, and just trying to focus on the task at hand and getting the guys out. And you know, it's really just hard to explain the emotions that I was going through. And but I think the biggest thing was trying to take it in, embrace the moment, but at the same time, like just getting back down to like where I'm at right then and there, um, and just getting them out. And I know the toughest part was when you usually don't hear anything on the mound when I go into pitch or anything, and for whatever reason, I threw my warm up pitch, got the ball back, and like went to toe the rubber, throw another warm up pitch, and I heard the PA announcer go, "Making his major league debut, Mickey Jannis," like over the loudspeaker, and just kind of like hit me right then and there, like, "Oh, all right, take a second, take a breath, like under control," and then just try to gather my emotions, and then get after it.
Now, I know you've been asked a lot about, that game, that moment, getting the call, but you were up in the bigs for 3 days, I believe, before the Orioles designated you for assignment. Like, what did you take out of it besides your 3 1/3 innings getting to pitch on a big league mound? Because you were, in the bullpen a couple other games, got to be around the big league club. Like, what else did you take away from that experience?
Yeah, I mean, just again, just kind of the same thing. Just trying to take it all in and talk to guys, like understand what their plans are. I mean, even though we're different pitchers, like still understanding like a pitching aspect um because that's what we're all doing. We're all pitching out there. So trying to understand how they're attacking hitters, you know, obviously we're throwing different pitches, but it might be able to like help me in the long run, or, something that they see that might help me, try to throw a knuckleball in a certain location or certain guys swing. And, so just talking with the guys was pretty awesome. And I mean, there's a lot of guys that were in my same position last year with the Orioles and even this year, where you're up and down, up and down, up and down, up for one game, DFA, whatever it might be, So I think everybody was very down to earth and easy to talk to, whether you're Trey Mancini or the last guy on the in the bullpen. Everybody kind of understood like what's going on with the Orioles, and it's a rebuilding process, and they're rebuilding. You can see how much better they are this year compared to last year, and just trying to understand being up there and trying to learn as much as I can from guys, having conversations with different coaches, just trying to take it all in as much as I could.
Were any players bugging you, trying to get you to teach them the knuckleball in your short time up there?
There was a couple that they're always like, "Hey, I got a good one. Like, let's play catch one day." And then, I was up and down so quick, it was like it never was able to happen. But yeah, there's always guys who, whether you're out in the outfield shagging fly balls, it's like, "Hey, check this one out, Mickey," and you know, and that happens everywhere I go. So it's part of the gig of being a knuckleballer. But I'm pretty hard on them when it comes to grading their knuckleballs. So
I have a feeling, is it more position players who try and say, "Hey, Mickey, look at this knuckleball I have," than actual pitchers? Because I feel like it just comes up playing baseball. Guys who want to be pitchers, throw it as they're playing catch.
I think so. I think it's more. A lot of it's a lot of them are the third baseman when they're throwing the ball around, like throw the ball down to second base after warming up, and then they throw the ball around the pitcher, or the third baseman tosses it to me, and third baseman's like, lobs me a knuckleball, and I was like, yeah, how about that one? But it always makes me smile. It kind of keeps me loose on the mound, so I kind of enjoy it. But like I said, I'm pretty hard when I grade them on it.
Yeah, and as you should be. And I mean,
Yeah.
you're if people are thinking knuckleball right now, you're the last one that has been thrown by a true knuckleballer in the big leagues. But kind of the flip side of that, throughout your career, even in the O's organization or before with the Mets or in your time in indie ball, you talked about how some other guys have reached out to you and said, hey, I'm thinking about throwing the knuckleball. Have there been any teammates that have just had you there that were, seriously asking you about, like, I'm really thinking about maybe making this change, or just trying to get advice on, what they should do if they were to make that transition?
Not really. I think it's such a hard choice to make in affiliated ball. Um, so it makes it very difficult, because it's not like, a lot of times it's not just like, hey guys, I'm gonna switch. Like, I don't see success with my fastball anymore. Like, I'm gonna start throwing a knuckleball, and the organization is never like, oh yeah, we'd love for you to do that. It's very difficult to do. But there's been one guy in independent ball, actually, that was asking me about it as soon as I signed, and he messed around with it last year in indie ball, and he was asking me questions about it when I came out to Chicago. So, and he's got a decent one. It's just then transferring it to the mound, and then with hitters in and all that stuff. So I just explained him, like, if you want to do this, like, you have to buy in all the way. Like, it's not gonna be a pitch you throw twice a game. Like, you got to buy in. And I think that's the process that makes it so tough, is getting an organization to buy in, where it's going to take, like you don't just like do it overnight. It takes time. Like, it took me, a couple years to really understand what I was trying to do with it, and getting the feel for it consistently and things like that. And there was one guy with the Rockies this offseason, or even last year, that I reached out to, because I heard he actually pitched against Bowie when I was back down in AAA, and I was like, oh, I wonder what this kid's got. Like, kind of reached out to him and helped him out, and had conversations with him, because the Rockies just wanted him to convert to a knuckleballer. And he pitched, and they just threw him straight in Double-A. It's not like, hey, go back to extended spring training, work on it, throw it every day, that type of thing. It was like, no, you're switching tomorrow and you're pitching in Double-A. It's like, and how good was our Bowie team last year? And he struggled a little bit. Had conversations with him, and then he threw it all off season. Went to spring training, and talked to him pretty consistently. And then the Rockies ended up releasing him anyways. And it's like, wow, they gave him 7 months to figure out how to throw a knuckleball, and it didn't work. And it's like, you can't just do it in 7 months. Like, it's gonna take some time. Some guys, it might happen quicker, but like I said, it took me 3.5 years to get signed out of independent ball. So
Yeah.
it's just hard for teams to take that long on somebody to give them a shot.
And we're hoping you get another shot. I mean, Birdland's pulling for you. It was cool to see. I know you had a couple of really good outings in Norfolk before the call up. You had those 5 perfect innings that you threw in relief, and I know a lot of Orioles fans were like, "Can we see the knuckleball, please?" And a lot of people were happy to see it in the big leagues. I did have to ask, because you were in Bowie for a little bit, and obviously a lot of time in Norfolk. Did you work with Adley Rutschman? Was he catching your knuckleball, or did you have somebody else with that big glove back there when you were in Norfolk?
I always threw to Brett Cumberland in AAA. He was pretty much my main catcher, and then I threw to Adley once in a spring training game I think it was against the Yankees. We threw, but he actually got called up to AAA, and then a couple days later, I got sent down to Double-A. So we kind of switched spots. So I didn't really throw to him in the minor leagues, but I did throw to him. I threw a couple bullpens to him and things like that. But yeah, I didn't really throw it to him in a game.
Was it a learning process for Brett to try and catch you? Had he caught a knuckleball before?
I don't think he did, but he was the one who most embraced it. Like, and that's kind of how you have to be as a catcher. He was like, "Sure, I'll play catch with you every day. Sure, I'll catch your bullpens," and he really embraced it and wanted to be that guy that caught me, because who knows? Like, if I went up to the big leagues and had this success, and I'm like, "Hey, Brett can catch me down there," if somebody was struggling in the big leagues, but so it's you really do have to embrace it, and sometimes it's you go one game and the catcher catches you just fine, and they're like, "Oh, okay, I got this," and then the next game it's moving completely different, and I was taking my last outing the other day. I walked a guy, and then the next pitch, catcher clanks it, goes to second. 2 pitches later, clanks another one, goes to third. Next batter comes up, throw one high, clanks off his glove, and he scores. Like 3 pass balls, and the guy scores. And it's like, and he just looks at me and he's like, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna keep working for you. And I was like, dude, don't apologize. Like, I know I know it's gonna move different directions. Like, you just have to. Sometimes I feel like that kind of humbles them a little bit more when that actually happens, because sometimes they do get a little cocky, like, oh yeah, I got this, and then it's like, wow, I don't got this at all.
Yeah,
And it happens like that, and it's tough.
yeah, I know. R.A. Dickey. I mean, the Mets basically had Josh Tolley on the roster just to catch him. I remember, and
Yeah.
I know Veritek didn't like catching Wakefield either. They had
Yeah,
another catcher
yeah.
there,
I
and
mean, there's a whole. I think there's a ESPN E60 on the Doug Mirabelli situation, because they got rid of him one year, and then Veritek was like, I'm not doing this," and they literally like called him and like, "Doug, you're catching tonight. Get on a plane." Like, that's how it is. I mean, Josh Tolley, he embraced it, and he wrote it as long as he could with R.A. Dickey, and that worked out for him, and so.
yeah, definitely a cool move by Brett Cumberland as well. I'm sure he knew, like,
Yeah.
hey, I think Mickey can stick, and if he can get to the big leagues, I can be his guy as well. But Mickey, last thing for you, we've talked so much about the knuckleball, and you're going to be known for a while here. It seems like, as the last knuckleballer in the big leagues, and hopefully you will kind of re-up that as the next time you get to the big leagues, you'll also be the last guy in the bigs. But I just want to give you a chance here at the end, like what should people know about Mickey Jannis besides a guy who throws a knuckleball and was in the big leagues last year?
Oh, put me on the spot with that one. I don't know. I mean, I think it goes with any baseball player. Like, it's just a normal, down to earth person you can have a conversation with, and family man who enjoys, spending time with his wife and daughter. And I don't know, just kind of normal person. You always think of knuckleballer as kind of quirky, and it's just kind of down to earth, normal person, I guess. I don't know else how to explain me. So that's a question for my wife. She'd probably give you a better answer than I would, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a fine answer to have. Well, Mickey, thank you so much for giving us so much time today talking about your career, getting signed by the Orioles, and making that major league debut 1 year ago today. And obviously, we all hope that that is just one of multiple appearances in the big leagues. We hope to see you back there again. But Mickey, thanks again for coming on the pod.
Yeah, I appreciate it.